Welcome to Music Matters 2020. Thank you so much for joining us for our unique and new podcast community. We're broadcasting live from Founders Park in Ocean Grove on the Jersey Shore, and we're so delighted that you can join us as we explore the issues and topics that confront musicians in 2020 as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. We have a wonderful guest today, Miss Dr. Jennifer Pascual, who's the Director of Music Ministries at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, and we're delighted she can join us today. Please subscribe to us on YouTube, hit that bell for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics, like our videos on Facebook, and just reach out and tell your friends about us. We're a growing community, and we're delighted that you can join us. Welcome, Dr. Jennifer Pascual.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you for having me on the show. And it's so great to see you. And I know I just saw you yesterday, so it's doubly great to see you 2 days in a row.
It's great to be on your show, Sound from the Spires, on Sirius Radios, on the Catholic station, and just great to catch up with you. It's been so many years, and I remember in about the year 2001 and 2, I think it was 2002, where we were both at the Cathedral in Newark. You were the Associate Director of Music Ministries at the Cathedral, and I was in the choir there under the very talented John Miller. And I got to watch your playing, and everyone was so impressed with your work. And my second performance with orchestra that I ever conducted was Haydn's Creation, and you were the continuo player on that concert.
That's right. Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I fully remember all these experiences. And gosh, it's also great to follow your career as well, Jason.
Well, it's a long and winding road, and it's so exciting to see friends do well. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I've got a brief summation of your extensive biography. I'll just go through a couple of the key points, and then you can round it out with some other information. So Dr. Pascual did her Doctorate of Music Arts degree in organ performance from the Eastman School of Music. She holds a master's degree in piano performance from the Mannes College of Music in New York, and a Bachelor of Music in piano and organ and music education from Jacksonville University in Florida. In 2002, she was appointed as the Associate Director of Music at the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Newark. And then in 2003, she was named the Director of Music at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City, serving under Edward Cardinal Egan, the Archbishop of New York. And Jenna is the first woman ever to hold that position. She was charged with overseeing all the music for the pastoral visit of the Pope Benedict when he came to New York in 2008. And that included, I think, at Yankee Stadium and St. Patrick's Cathedral. And so what was it like to prepare music for the Pope?
It was a lot of work, but really worth it. I think out of all the experiences I've done as Director of Music at St. Patrick's Cathedral, that had to be one of the biggest highlights. It was a lot of work. We had about 6 months to prepare music. And it was, yes, exactly, St. Patrick's Cathedral, Yankee Stadium, and then there were a couple of other locations. The Pope had visited St. Joseph's Seminary, which I was not able to be on site because I couldn't be in two places at one time. So he did an indoor seminary event and then a bigger outdoor seminary event. And to coordinate all of that, do the music, logistics, copyrights, rehearsals, and then actually execute everything. It took about 6 months of work, but it was really lots of fun to put that all together, and all the musicians that were involved really had a great time.
As a devout Catholic, what's it like to meet the Pope for the first time and to make music and to share your gifts? What was that like?
Yeah, so obviously he could hear what the music that was going on at all times. Oh, there was one more location. There was the Upper West Side, St. Joseph's Church, which originally was a German parish, and they picked that because Pope Benedict is German. And so we picked some Bach and some other German composers. And when he was leaving the ecumenical service, he kind of looked up and waved at the choir. And I heard from another source later on, he said, the music is really good here. So that was great. I did not get to meet the Pope during his visit in New York, but I was already scheduled to visit a friend of mine in Rome the following year. And so Cardinal Egan, the late Cardinal Egan, was able to get me a special ticket to personally meet him at a papal audience that was outdoors at St. Peter's. And so that was the time I got to meet him. And then when I met him, I said, Your Holiness, I was the one who prepared the music for your visit in New York. And he said,
Amazing. And I see in your biography that you were named a Dame of Saint Gregory the Great by Pope Benedict in 2008 for your distinguished service to the Roman Catholic Church.
Yes, that was just followed of Pope, and so Cardinal Egan liked to award those who, I guess, worked really hard. And for that particular papal visit, he gave this award to a number of us lay people, and some other awards to some other folks. And so that was quite an honor to be able to receive that.
Was that in New York or was that in Rome? Where was that given?
It was in New York, and of course the Pope or whomever signs the document, and then but the papal honor is bestowed upon each of us, and it's just something we hold.
You're the only dame I know, so that's very impressive. So tell me about what does a normal work week, let's say go pre-COVID, what is a normal work week like at the St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is such a bustling and exciting and vibrant location in the middle of Manhattan? What's that like? So describe to our audience who may not know the inside workings of a cathedral like that. What's it like?
Yeah, so it is a very busy place, and it gets even busier during the big tourist seasons like Christmas or spring break even picks up a lot. But the summertime is just bustling. Christmas is the busiest time, Advent Christmas, because people come to Fifth Avenue. They come to see the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. They go shopping on Fifth Avenue. And when you walk into St. Patrick's, it takes a long time to get from the front to the back, and people are carrying shopping bags. So it sounds like a shopping mall inside the cathedral at that time. But whether it's a high season or low season, the music always goes on. I have with me 3 full-time staff members on my team. I have another part-time organist whose sole purpose is to play at 7 o'clock in the morning every morning, and so he's going to go straight to heaven. And then I have a choir, a semi-professional choir of about, it fluctuates because people come and go from New York City, about 35 folks, semi-professional. So I have 17 pros in my choir, and the remainder are great volunteers. And then we have a handful of professional cancers that sing on the weekends, and then about 17 volunteer cancers that sing during the week. So that's a few professional volunteers and a bunch of volunteer cancers. So it's a big program, and so my job is to make sure that all runs and there are no glitches. And then I pick out the music for all of these masses that happen at the parish level. That is all the Sunday masses, all the weekday masses. And then our cathedral choir sings once a week. We rehearse once a week, go from September, right after Labor Day, up through whenever the Feast of Corpus Christi happens. And then in addition to that, we have Christmas, Holy Week, St. Patrick's Day, Columbus Day, all these other extra services that just make it so much more busy. And so the choir is involved with that, and there's more rehearsals for that. And we have a concert series on top of that. So we have 6, at the moment, we have 6 nighttime concerts throughout the year, including Christmas, St. Patrick's Day, orchestra and choir concert in the spring. We feature our staff organist. We have a chamber concert, and then we have usually an international organist that comes. So that's 6 concerts at night. And then our Sunday afternoon concerts, we have the visiting organists who come from all over the world. They play 30 minutes. And then we just have visiting choirs that come in from all over the world whenever they want. And they sing during the week in the afternoons. And so it's just a great thing to be able to provide all this music for whoever is around. And we're a big tourist church. And so it's great to serve
at the center of the world, New York City. Nothing like it. So what was it like the first time you walked into St. Patrick's Cathedral and you got up there to the organ console? What was it like the first time you played?
Well, the first time I played, I was not yet an employee of the cathedral. I was one of those folks who played on the Sunday afternoon concerts. And so I said, well, this is pretty cool. This is a fantastic instrument. And so I had a lot of fun doing that. And years before that, the very first time I had actually walked into the cathedral was sometime in the mid-90s. And I said, wow, it'd be really cool to work here. But you know what? They would never hire a woman. And so, well,
Well,
I
you
guess
broke
I
that
was
glass
wrong.
ceiling. That's incredible. When I heard that, when I heard that you got that job, everyone was so happy. Everyone we worked together at the Cathedral in Newark is so delighted to see you rise to that position. And boy, they couldn't have picked a better person. You've been there for how many years has it been? What's the number?
I think I've
That's
just, yeah.
incredible at a job that busy. How many masses per week does that wind up being that you have to plan?
I think we have 28 with music.
Wow.
28 or 29 with music. Now, the masses that happen multiple times a day, we use the same music during the day, but each day the music changes. And then, of course, every Sunday the music changes.
And how much, now you are a virtuoso organist, how much of do you play the prelude, postlude every week as well on those services?
In addition to myself, I have two full-time organists and one part-time organist. So the funny thing is, when I was first hired, I was hired as a choral conductor. I was not hired as an organist.
Huh.
Of course, my degree is in organ and not in choral conducting. But choral conducting also comes with experience in addition to the education. So I was only conducting when I first started, but then things change, administrations change, and number of masses increase, and then we added a Spanish mass, and I went from playing 0 masses a week to playing 1 mass a week when they added the Spanish mass, and then when they added this early mass that ended up on Catholic channel Sirius XM radio, we then added 5 extra masses a week. So once we finally divided the duties between myself and the other organists, we had them playing most of the daytime masses, but I played 1 Sunday and then 4 early morning masses. So I played 5 a week. But right now, at the moment, I'm down to 1. So it keeps flip-flopping.
Well, these are unique times for sure, and we're certainly all in different schedules than we're used to. I see here in your biography that you're quite an avid and you're quite a busy recitalist. You perform recitals in Austria, Belgium, Canada, Ireland, Israel, Italy, the Philippines, Poland, Russia, Spain, Vatican City, and throughout the United States. How many recitals would you say you do in a normal year?
Hello, there's my daughter, Robin Mary.
Hello.
We do, listen, I do probably as a dozen a year, outside of St. Patrick's. It just depends on the year. Some years are dry. Some years are, I have 15, or sometime I'll have 16, 17, 18. And then other years I'll have 5 or 6. It just depends.
How do you balance your schedule between the administrative portion of a position like St. Patrick's and the musical portion?
Well, I'm blessed to have some assistants with me, associates who will take over. We all help each other out. We're all professional organists, and so they play recitals, I play recitals, and so we try to swap duty days so that somebody is still covering the work at the cathedral. But we plan ahead and help each other out so that I'm able to get away, and they're also able to get away.
Now, assuming a position that's this busy, what was it like the first year adjusting to that schedule, and then putting your own imprimatur on that program? What's it like walking into a position like that?
It was pretty intimidating at first. The first time I sat down at the organ and did one of those 3 in a row, I said, "My gosh, this place is a factory." Or the first weekend, I played 3 or 4 weddings. I said, "This must be what Vegas is like when people are in and out." But it was a busy place. It still is a busy place, and trying to get my head around all of that was overwhelming. But I accepted the challenge, and no matter what position you're in as a church musician, it really takes about 3 years to get through, an entire cycle through the lectionary, year A, year B, year C, and you're trying to figure out the routine and what the priests are like and what the musicians are like, what the congregation is like. And so just being on the job all the time, I figured it out, and it's a good fit, I think.
And you're still smiling. It's wonderful to see.
I try.
Well, so in the COVID crisis, everything hit New York very hard. How did that affect St. Patrick's Cathedral, and how does that coincide with what you're doing now?
Yeah, we had a state of emergency, or city of emergency, in New York. We had an Irish concert set for, I believe it was whatever that date was, Thursday, March 12th. We had an Irish concert that we do every year around St. Patrick's time, because we like to honor the Irish and the people that built the cathedral, set for that night. And the mayor or the governor called for a state of emergency, and people were saying, "Oh, we should cancel this concert." I said, "Oh my gosh, this concert's in about an hour and a half. Do we really, do we really cancel this thing now?" But we pulled through, and that was the very last thing that any of our musicians sang for. We didn't know what was happening. I talked to the director, and then by the time the weekend hit, we just had to cancel everything. So nothing was open to the public. Our choir could not sing, which of course is the right thing to do so that everybody stays safe. So what we're doing now, and what we've been doing since March, is that we are live streaming our Sunday masses at 10:15 and 4, and also at 7 in the morning. So we have those live stream masses going. We've had that going since the COVID hit. And even before that, we had live stream masses available for the public even before the pandemic hit. But we saw a real great surge in watching participation from the congregation virtually from all over the world. And it's great to be able to serve them, even with just an organist and a cantor, that they're still able to watch live mass from wherever they are and pray with us. And it was hard to do Holy Week with just organ and cantor, but we just had to provide what we could and what we were able to do. And at the moment, that's still what we're able to do.
Have you tried any of the virtual choir things? Have you done any of those projects with your diocesan choir or any of your choral ensembles?
I am not a tech genius. Actually, when I write music, I take a pen and pencil and paper, and I scribble it down, and I have my husband do it on Finale for me. So I have not gotten into the world of virtual choir. One of my volunteer choristers is desperately asking if we can do that, but it's something that we have to investigate. I know that I can't physically do that myself. I don't know how to do it, but we'd have to investigate to see what the costs are and if that's even doable. Yeah, I'd never mentioned this before. I do have an archdiocesan choir as well. They tend to live in the upper and western counties of the archdiocese, and this is such a spread out archdiocese, so it's hard for us to get together, and especially now during the pandemic. But they only sing a few times a year, like at priesthood ordination, at Chrism Mass, whenever the Pope shows up, or things like that, bishops' ordinations. So they add on to our special events. But it's really hard to be able to get together, obviously. And I'm not sure that many of them would be able to do a virtual choir. If I can't do it, I'm sure that they're not going to.
The learning curve the first time takes a little bit of time to get used to the technology, not just the conductors and the musicians, but the avocational singers have to get used to hearing it on one, recording it on a separate device, submitting. That whole process takes a bit. But once you do that, it does find a groove. So.
Maybe slowly. Maybe I'll take it slow, and we'll see what happens.
And so you're doing live masses now, but with limited. What's the how many people are allowed in the cathedral now for a live mass?
Right, we're still allowed 25% capacity, and I don't think we're reaching that, only because we're a tourist church. On a normal weekend, we would see about 90% tourists and 10% people that we see on a regular basis. And so since people can't travel, we're really not seeing the 25% yet. I think we get about 200 at the 10:15 Mass, and maybe less than that at the two other Masses that we have. We're only doing 3 Sunday Masses out of what we would have regularly 9 on a weekend.
Unique times for sure.
Yeah.
And do you have yourself, the cantor, and then the priests? Was that the liturgical team that's in place these days?
At the moment, yes. During complete lockdown, even the lectors were not allowed into the church, and so they made an exception for the organist and the cantor. Thank goodness. But only the priests that reside at the cathedral. There are 2 separate houses which are connected to the cathedral. I think there are a total of 8 that live there, including the rector in one house and some priests, and then the cardinal in the other house and his priests. They all said Mass together for the most part. Or celebrated Mass, concelebrated on Sundays during the lockdown, and read the readings, did everything. But once we finally opened up, they finally allowed lectors back in. And so we do have lectors to help out and servers at the 10:15 Mass. So it's nice to see some people
Yeah,
back.
it's just a slight return towards normalcy.
Yes,
And
yes.
what do you think the future may hold? What's the current thinking in New York on how we what's your thing on how we go back to a more normal schedule?
I'm not sure. I think that's also going to really depend on the governor and the mayor on, the bigger decisions. In terms of church, if we open up to then 50%, it's also going to depend on the governor. In terms of music, I think we are going to stay where we are for now, only because if we only have 100 to 200 people allowed in the church, if we have a choir, it's going to add to the number of people. However, uh, I've met with my choir via Zoom a couple of times, and several of them are just not feeling comfortable coming back to sing yet. They don't think it's safe without a vaccine. They even with a mask on, singing with a mask and being separated, they still do not feel comfortable. Some do, some don't. And in taking a little poll with them, how do you put a choir together with such a small number? So we're going to just have to play it by ear and see how things progress with a vaccine, with the governor, and just hope that things work out and get balanced pretty
I'm in the
soon.
process of planning for multiple organizations as we're getting ready to. People are thinking about the fall and what that might be, and like a virtual slash. Some people are more inclined to take risks. Some people have the pre-existing conditions or are going to stay home, and it's there's so many factors to consider, and it's such a complicated set of issues that each one's individual, and it's at Ocean Grove in my summer venue. We have a 6,500 seat theater church, and and we're only allowed to have 100 people there. And even though it's half open air, it's still only 100. So it's basically one person per section. They're football field apart. So, but I can have my quartet. We do the virtual choirs every week, quartet and organ, and otherwise and the preacher. But it's unusual. It's certainly strange to have like spots of people out there in the congregation as opposed to our normal when we sing the hymns, where people sing the hymns, and these days we have to make the organ much softer on the hymns. So
That's right. That's true.
so we have our first question from the audience. Kate from Ohio asks, what advice do you have for young girls who are training for musical careers?
Practice, practice, practice. Depending on what your instrument is, if you don't play the organ or the piano, do it, because you do need that keyboard experience especially to work in a church, to be able to do music. Just practice as much as you can, especially when you're young, because you have the time. The older you get, you're going to have less time. You have a family. It's just really going to stop you from practicing. Write music if you can, even if it's just a simple song or hymn, and just be able to expand your skills, get to know your church anthems, especially. Do a lot of listening. Listen to other choirs, listen to other groups that perform music, even if it's orchestra. If you're not going to be an orchestra conductor, just listen to all that stuff. Some of my favorite music as an undergrad was actually orchestral music, even though I was a piano and organ major. That was some of my favorite music, and it really helped me to understand the organ better, to listen to orchestras. So just listen to music.
I see in your past you played the French horn as well.
Yes, that was a lot of fun, because you spend so much time practicing in the practice room by yourself. But then when you play French horn, you're with a bunch of people, and so I found that to be lots of fun when I was an undergrad.
When you have those big brass anthems, I'm sure that helps. That background helps you put all that together.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I can relate to the brass folks, and there are a lot of great guys that come
They're
to
always
play.
so rhythmic. The brass players are so rhythmic, and it's very, very, very. It's a very different articulation than string players, for example. I really enjoy the personality types and the different people of the. It's always fun to see how people fit those personality types within the sections. Brass players are always some of my favorite. Brass players and percussionists are always so much fun.
Yeah, they're very outgoing.
Like fighter pilots, they're very, very. To get those high notes like a tenor, very similar to tenors in some ways.
That's right. Yeah, they're great guys.
That was a great question from Kate. I saw also you played piano concertos in your past. Do you still get to play some of that repertoire, even though with your very busy schedule?
I don't know. The Rachmaninoff was the only one that I played as an undergrad, and I got to play with an undergrad orchestra at the university that was also boosted with players from the community, and so that was a lot of fun to be able to play that. I put the French horn down for that and played the piano for that concert, and it was great to be able to do that.
It's one of the greatest concertos written, Rachmaninoff. It's one of those just absolute gems, romantic gems.
Yes. So romantic, yeah, one of my favorites.
I love Jacksonville. It's a great town. And for the last 5 years, I've been doing touring operas at the Times Union Center, and I just love that town. It's such a unique town.
Yeah, and it's really gotten a lot busier, especially with the football team that's now there.
You grew up in Jacksonville?
I did before the football team showed up, and so I'm a Navy brat. My father was in the Navy, and that's how we ended up in Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's a great town, and I always like northern Florida. It's very different from we tour these tours. We hit southern Florida, we go through all those towns, and we go up to northern Florida, and I always like the northern Florida towns.
Yeah, it's nice. It's it's very spread out. Jacksonville. It's one area-wise the biggest city in the United States, but you do a lot of shopping. But there's also the beach if you go to the east, and it's
we have another question from the audience. This is Steve from Oklahoma, who asks, how do you make your stamp on a position like a major position like St. Patrick's? How do you make your personal stamp on a program like that?
Yeah, so I try to assess first what has been going on there musically and what they're accustomed to, and not trying to make a huge swing of repertoire or whatnot. And I think that the repertoire choices that I've made are mostly in line with what my predecessors had done before me. St. Patrick's, with its Gothic cathedral style, lends well to most gems from the repertoire. But we do a lot of Renaissance and some chant, traditional hymnody, romantic music. We don't do as much Baroque music because in that space the articulation is very hard to come by. But we do a lot of great things, and late 18th century romantic music for the church. And I try to keep it as eclectic as I can because we see 90% tourists. We don't see the same people week after week. And so I just try to make it as eclectic as possible so that we can try to reach everybody. We do some Latin, we do some English, sometimes we do German, sometimes Italian, but we try to get everybody to like our music in whatever form they like it, hymnody, chant, motets.
That's wonderful, that variety of repertoire, and you serve such a variety of people from all over the world. In your position, you must have played for various presidents, you've played for probably kings and queens and royalty and the Pope, obviously. So what's it like to meet some of the personalities you'll meet in New York City? Have you met some of the celebrities in your time there?
To meet them is a hard thing because usually if somebody who's way up there in fame, like the Pope, for example, comes into St. Patrick's, I'm usually conducting the music at that point. And so I'm on one end of the cathedral and he's on the other end. And so I really rarely ever get a chance to meet anybody famous who comes in the door.
But they meet you through your music, which is very special.
That's right. Thank you.
That gift that you share, and that, and people the music always touches them. It enhances the word in such a way that the saying is when you sing, you pray twice. Well, when you play the organ and you conduct, you pray so many times because there's so many singers.
That's right. And it's enough for me to know that at least that person's listening. I don't need to meet that person. I already know I'm meeting them orally.
I guess you're so busy. You're on to the next 20 projects and making sure things are set for the next 20 masses. And do you get a break? Do you get vacation time? We know that you're a mom because your daughter was in the back of the picture there. It was great to see her. What's it like balancing a family along with your very busy professional workload?
It's hard. I also work with my husband who does, again, I said that earlier, he does my finale files and whatnot. I scribble it on a piece of paper, but he also does all of the worship aids for the cathedral. He's full-time at St. Patrick's as well, on the weekdays. and does all our worship programs, keeps the Cathedral library in check, and whenever the choir's in session, he's busy with them and trying to keep all the music together. On the weekends, he's still at the Cathedral Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Newark as the sacristan, where you and I met.
And that's where you two
Jason.
met, right? As well, right?
Oh. That's right. We met there as well. Yes, and our daughter was baptized there. But because he has that liturgical background, he's unique in that I don't ever have to explain anything to him. Actually, whenever I have a question, I ask him, because he actually is I think more in tune with the liturgy than I am, and so I never have to explain anything liturgical to him. But when it comes to the music, I'll look at the worship aid and I'll just proofread it and whatnot. But it's a great team, and I never have to explain anything, and we work well together. So sometimes it's hard to balance because our work is also at home. We bring work home, especially now. But we try to make time to get away. We take time when we're able to. It usually takes us leaving the country to really get away, but somehow people still find us, bishops die when we're on the other side of the planet. We still have to prepare the program if we're on the other side of the program, and things like that happen. And that's part of our lives, and we're used to it.
I always find that when I'm guest conducting, I treat those like little mini vacations, because some of the day-to-day aspects of my positions I can delay and not be in my normal schedule. So it gives you, whenever I'm doing a guest conducting run, I usually have the rehearsal process, and then I have lots of time that I would normally be home with my kids or be working on homework or preparing lesson plans. So I find those are sometimes they're nice stretch times where I can find a little bit of peace in my crazy world too.
Yeah. Whenever I'm doing a solo concert, early on, the family came with me because Robin Mary was so young. But now that she's a little bit older, I travel by myself most of the time now. And so it's nice to be able to visit someplace I've not been before, and then just try to, meet the locals and explore the cuisine and tour around a bit. So that's nice to be able to get away for a couple of days for that.
A question from Mary from Queens, who asks, what are some of your favorite venues to play? What are some favorite venues and organs that you've played in your travels?
That's a hard one, because there are so many favorites, but the ones that are most personally close to me would be the bamboo organ in Manila, the Philippines. It's my mother's hometown at St. Joseph's Parish in Las Piñas, which is a part of Manila. And it just recently actually is going to become, it was just named, it hasn't become yet, a basilica, or a shrine, not a basilica. So it's going to be a shrine to St. Joseph's, which is a great honor for that church. It's a historical place, and it's really famous because of this bamboo organ. It was the only one like it in the world. It was built by a Spanish priest in the 1800s, and now there are a couple of new ones out there that the Diego Serra Organ Company has built, only because they're famous for this. But it's a really unique instrument. It's the pride of the Philippines, the musical pride of the Philippines, and so I am really attached to that instrument. And every time I'm in Manila, I try to stop by and see it. And I actually have a project in the works that I've been working on this pandemic, is trying to edit a recording that I did last summer, and so hopefully that can come through, and that'll be out.
The recording's on that instrument.
And then,
oh, fantastic!
Yes.
So describe to the audience, and to me, I've only heard of that instrument. I've never heard it played. How do you build the pipes out of bamboo?
Yeah, well, I think they take the bamboo stalks, the long stalks, they chop it, and to protect it from bugs and termites, they actually have to take the bamboo, dry it, and then put it in the sand to protect it from the instruments and termites, so that it doesn't get eaten up by the bugs. And the whole instrument is enclosed in a case. Only the facade is open so that the sound can come out, and the maintenance company that takes care of it, they take care of it on a regular basis. They're great. And it's all bamboo, with the exception of the horizontal metal pipes that are like the Spanish trumpets. It's a one manual instrument with split registrations, meaning you have to pull stops for the left hand, then you have to pull stops for the right hand, and then a very short, stubby pull-down pedal. So it's unlike our American organs that you see.
And how does the sound? I'm gonna find the recording on there and put a link to that on this show, because this is so fascinating. So what does the sound like? What type of different timbres can you get on that organ that may not be on other organs?
Yeah, it's more of a hooty, fluty sound. It's hard to describe it. If you know the pan flute, it's fatter, of course. It's because they're bigger bamboo pipes, but it has that kind of same sound, similar sound. So imagine an entire organ sounding
That's
like
so cool.
those pan flutes.
And what year did they how
Yeah.
did they come up with the technology to do this? Whose idea was it? What year was it invented?
Uh, yeah, a priest by the name of Padre Diego Serra, who was a priest from Spain. I want to say he's Augustinian. I can't remember off the top of my head what order he was, but he built this organ, and I think he built one other organ in Manila of the same kind, but was destroyed during one of the wars. And that he built that specifically for this parish, and it really flocked. It caused people to just come and flock, and tourists to come and see this thing. They have a whole uh, annual international festival around this organ. It's amazing, yeah. So they invite one or two organists from wherever in the world, and not just organ music. They have choir and organ, choir and orchestra, guitar, uh, concerts under the
Beautiful.
trees, kind of things like that. Yeah, and so it's a 19th century organ. The name of the parish is Las Piñas. Excuse me, in Las Piñas is St. Joseph's Parish, and Diego Serra was the
How
priest who
proud
built
was
it.
your mother when you first did your first concert there?
Oh, she was there. My parents were there. It was 2004, and I was invited by the Bamboo Organ Festival, International Festival, to come and play. And because my mother was, that was where she was from, she came. My father came, and some of my other family members were there as well. So that was really a great time.
It was such an interesting project, and I look forward to hearing that recording when it comes out. How can people find out
Yeah,
about
me
your
too.
work? How can they find out about your recordings and your schedule at St. Patrick's? How can they find more about your work?
I do have a website, jenniferpascual.com, and so they can go there. Past recitals, the CDs that I've recorded, they can
So
go there.
tell us about
Hmm.
your work as a radio host and your Sounds from the Spire show.
Yeah, so we've been doing that since December of 2006. The Archdiocese of New York has a relationship with the Catholic Channel, or I think they're the ones that formed it. I'm not quite sure. Since December of 2006, on the Catholic Channel, Sirius XM 129, I have a weekly program called Sounds from the Spires, and it's a weekly show, 1 hour a week. There are four other hosts that do 1 hour shows of other topics. Some do education, some priests are on shows as well. So we do whatever topic we're assigned to. And of course, mine was music. When they first approached me, I said, I've never done radio in my life. I don't know if I can do this. He said, oh, you'd be good at it. And so after the first 3 or 4 weeks, it was hard. How do you keep a conversation going as well as you do, Jason? But after about a month, got used to it. And it's a lot of fun. And I get to meet a lot of great people, and people I would not otherwise meet outside of my church world. Some people do praise music, or some people have contemporary choirs, folk groups, or publishers. I've had people that don't play music and do other things that have to do with the music industry, and it's just great to know what they do and delve a little bit more into their
It's great
world.
for every people to get exposure to the things they might not know. On my show here, we have a lot of professional musicians, and we have people who love the art form as well, and a lot of opera, a lot of other things. But people are always so interested to see the background lives of the artists who have these jobs and have these interesting responsibilities, and it's just exciting to see what life in the arts is.
Yes, exactly. And just like I learned more
I had
about
so
you
much fun
yesterday.
being on that show, and I know my university community at Seton Hall University is excited to because a lot of us are members. They are belong to Sirius Radio, and they're excited to hear it. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, likewise
Well, I
today as
can't
well.
think of anyone who would typify the term servant leader like you. So continued success in all your work, and I'm so excited to see you again as things open up again, and I look forward to hearing your wonderful choir and to hearing your organ recital. I'm going to make sure I'm there when they are back in live.
It's great to see you and spend time with you, Jason, and It's been great talking to you after all these years.
It's always amazing to see great people doing great things. So thank you so much, and I look forward to, we'll be in touch, and have a great day.
Thank you, Jason, and good luck to you, and have a great summer.
Thank you for joining us on Music Matters 2020. If you like this program, please consider subscribing and hit that bell for the most up-to-date information on upcoming topics and guests. You can see a complete library of past episodes at jasontramm.net, as well as our upcoming guests who will be here over the months to come. On Thursday, we have a wonderful guest. We have Mr. Kynan Johns, an Australian-born conductor who's had a wonderful career, and he'll be joining us. And then on Sunday, we're going to be having a program with Mark Terenzi, who's the Director of Choral Activities of Keene University, and we'll be talking with him about the development of his program. If you want to consider joining us as a Patreon sponsor, that's a way to support programs, independent programs like ours, and anyone who sponsors at any level will get a t-shirt that says Music Matters, and also a coffee mug as well. So we hope you join us, and thank you for supporting us as we grow into our unique podcast community. Once again, thank you for being here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. And remember, keep music alive. Good night.